the biggest story on the front page of the Daily Graphic is Bawumia means business. And I suspect this is likely or possibly going to replace It Is Possible.
Okay.
Because this seriously, if you look at the broad, what they call it, themes that was put out there in the vice president's speech, you would take out nothing beyond, oh no, I want to do some form of reform. This is what I really mean, and how he even delivered it. He was driven with some passion to say, this is my agenda. I hope you get my point. So Bawumia means business, and the president even repeated that. Said, indeed, Bawumia means business. So, you know, I've heard Quest means business. I've not heard We Have means business yet. But Bawumia means business is when he unveiled Manifesto focusing on jobs, businesses. And there's something that he said as the prelude for that. He said he's going around the country. And he realized that there are three things that are important to people in the Republic of Ghana. First, cost of living. Two, jobs. And he mentioned a third one.
Roads.
Yes, roads. So he was going to tell us broadly how his government going into the future will tackle these and other things that are related to them. So that is the point he started the presentation.
I don't know what I saw on social media, whether it was accurate or not, where Franklin Kujo did a post that it appears that the MPP did some wide consultation on this manifesto, and his expectation is that these inputs that they picked all over the country will reflect in this manifesto. We'll be looking forward to see his post, his comment after the launch, and whether indeed these concerns
I
have
know
been
we're
captured.
going to that. I listed 10 that I thought were, even though some of them have been said before, appear to be interesting highlights. Of course, I've already said that it appears the MPP is departing from the usual sloganeering. But this one says the 10 are train 1 million youth in digital skills, offer a one-time tax amnesty to all Ghanaians and corporate entities. 3, abolish the betting tax. 4, abolish e-levy. 5, reduce the cost of public transportation by promoting and supporting electric vehicle for transportation. And the second one is expanding the Gold for Oil program to continue stabilizing the price of fuel. 6, partner the private sector to finance, build, and rent or lease to own to government public infrastructure, including schools, housing, water, and roads, as well as equipment. Now, complete all Agenda 111 hospitals. This ensures every district gets a district hospital. Implement in full the Affirmative Action Act, which was recently enacted. Introduce a free tertiary education scholarship for persons with disability to remove financial barriers to pursuing education. And 10, cap the number of ministers at 50. As I said, this may not necessarily sound new, but to me, encapsulating the entire one, these were the huge highlights. Of course, others may have their own. He listed a huge number of them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I add some of my own too. I'm sure we'll come back to all of this. I add, you know, the import duties at the port, the flat import duties at the port. I also add, you know, a reduction of the port charges to make our ports very competitive. I add the Ghana First agenda, where we're looking at, you know, purchasing or, you know, patronizing Ghanaians who are into the various fields and looking within
using government's purchasing power
to actually propel Ghanaian businesses. And it's something I've been talking about, except that I've always maintained that in Ghana, we should have people who can do business through all regimes. It must not be that every regime creates its own millionaires. If we do that, we will never be competitive.
See what the challenge that Dangote is facing in Nigeria right now. It is interesting. You know,
That's true.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, you know, but I mean, I think that people should be able to do this. So, I look at the NPP's manifesto. A lot of things within the health sector, for instance, are things you've heard before. You know, expanding the sites for the drone delivery, the telehealth, and everything. These are things you've seen in the budgets in times past, and so you wouldn't.
Except there was a key point I was perhaps expecting that he didn't mention the NHIA today.
And capping.
Yes.
Exactly.
So if you make the full amount available to them, some of the conversations we'll be having about and cover and other things will be a thing of the past.
In fact,
and that's a very bold decision if you really want to do so.
Yes, and that's one thing he should. Well, since he says these are highlights, we want to see
maybe it's in
the full document.
That's also my other headache with this.
Yeah,
see, listen, if you are delivering manifesto with the greatest respect, you know the content of your manifesto. Just share the document. This I'm giving you highlights so that if you start complaining that this is not in this, no, it's in a bigger document. Wait, you have not seen the bigger document. It makes it difficult for us to understand and properly appreciate it.
But I want the political scientists to help me out about the impact of manifestos and I mean whether there's been any research. I mean just asking that question.
I've seen
the impact of political party manifesto and winning the votes for you.
Are you talking in this case about the world?
No, I'm talking about Ghana. I'm talking about just the Ghana situation.
I've seen about 3 or 2 of them. The most recent one I've seen actually compared youth participation to that. And the general argument is that, in fact, it doesn't do it like, a survey on people's, but it comes to the conclusion that your policies are important to push rational choice voting behavior. A certain grouping, and especially the educated and those who really, and sometimes if your policies are broken down to simple forms, even the uneducated can identify, because we are trying, and Africa sometimes they say we do ethnic census with elections, as in this one's vote their own, this other group also vote their own, but there's still a section within that group that believes that policies are what I engage with.
Policies,
and they are voting because they are looking at what is for them.
Okay.
So that's why they consider these ones.
So, in the West, in the US, for instance, you look at the blue states and the red states, and normally you wouldn't have the blue candidate going to the blue state that much. You wouldn't have the red candidate going to the red state that much. But then you would have these candidates actually going around the swing states trying to convince them to vote for them, because that's how you get to win elections. So if you take away the party members or sympathizers, those who are within the middle, whom we have described as floating voters in this country, many of them will look at the economic situation and also look at proposals to fix these challenges and other sectors and determine to vote.
Professor White puts it around 27 to 30%, which is, I mean, some actually reduce it to a smaller figure, but it's substantive enough.
Of course.
And people swing. Today, I can be born, bred NPP. Then I think I am way too educated to have my apron strings attached to a political party that even does not follow its ideological leaning anywhere. So I will not be influenced by those sociological factors. Hope you get what I'm trying to say. So maybe last 2 elections, I was thinking in one direction. This election, I'm no longer going to be influenced by those factors. Or sometimes general economic conditions forces people to think and ask for change. People who have been so unattached to your politics now feel that the decision matters a lot, and they cannot make the decision the same ways that they've been making in time.
The manifesto is their current condition and the current
so a conversation to have on that.
Interesting. Well, let's do the Finder has a lead story. Government moves to make 16 state enterprises efficient and profitable. So says Joseph Kujo. And also the director at the Institute of Economic Affairs, Dr. John Kwache, is making a strong case for us to renegotiate existing mineral contracts to enhance Ghana's stake. It's been a very big debate as to how this thing should be carried out, because there are others who of the school of thought that, we are still in that middle trying to attract FDI. So if you don't do this thing well, you will end up losing. There are some also saying that we have not benefited that much from some of these minerals, and the gold has hit record levels of $2,500.
That's true.
And I understand from the way things are going, the Federal Reserve actually trying to cut rates, people would now move to gold as a safe haven for their investment. So the prices might be shooting up. And how does that impact?
Bawumia says they want Ghanaians to be heavily invested and involved in the mining sector. They want ownership to move to a certain Ghanaian. I mean, that's what he said in this one. I don't know perhaps an explanation of how we are going to do that. So going to the future, are we likely to have these renegotiations? That don't forget, we hinted renegotiation under Professor Akila Pasoya.
Yeah.
Yes. It was a huge conversation in the Republic of Ghana. He carried out some of those, but well, let's see how it rolls out.
And the story is $1 billion World Bank support for Ghana over the next 12 years, and this is what the country director Robert O'Brien disclosed this in an interview with. On PM
Graphic.
Express
Okay.
on Thursday. You can still go on YouTube to watch that interview. Some interesting stuff he said about the economy and going forward, how the bank is preparing to support the economy.
Well, let me give you a bit more of the other stories that Winston didn't mention from the Daily Graphic. Now, at GJA 75th anniversary, speakers call for investment in AI infrastructure, and this is absolutely important. And this investment should not only be left with talks within government and all the other things. Media houses should also know that the future of journalism is inextricably intertwined with technology. I hope you get my point. In 2020, there's an AI, what do you call it, bulletin that had actually estimated how countries were prepared and media practitioners were using AI tools. That's 2020. In the entirety of Africa, they only singled out South Africa. Yes, as having some institutions that were deploying AI tools in their work in 2020. Hopefully, we would have not just individual journalists making decisions to use AI tools, but institutions believing that it enhances the work and makes it better for them to do so. Yes, or even if government is going to invest in it for media, it will be interesting. Anyway, the other one, colleges of education must stay open. And this is one of the crises that we are basically ignoring generally. This is the Tertiary Education Commission. The teachers are on strike. The students have been in the school for more than, is it 2 months or so?
Yeah.
Doing basically nothing. And we are all just watching on. Feed them and let them stay in the school and pretend they will learn on their own until we have consensus and bring the teachers back to the classroom.
Anyway, let's get to the online news review now. And full 2024 NPP Manifesto launched in TAC Rider. That's on myjoyonline.com. You can get it. I'll fulfill all my promises to move Ghana forward. That's according to Dr. Bawumia. And that's an important one. Farmers count their losses as dry spell jeopardizes crop yields. And this is a very, very important issue. If we don't address this, we will come back in October, November, complaining about food prices.
But it's not too late. You think about it. Now, the rains are not coming.
The rains are not coming.
Yes, they've been complaining for about 2 months now. There are no rains. And, of course, there's a conversation about why we are even relying on rain-fed agriculture. But we knew the solution to this way back in 2017. That's why it was one village, one dam. You get my point? So sometimes we think the slogans that matter. But we knew the solution to this. We knew someday. And those days, they were telling us that it was possible climate change would spell some of these doom.
But you see, these dams. And look, if you go to the Akusia-Suchari area and you look at the kind of work that was done in the 70s, people still use it up to today.
Brilliant.
So the solution was not having a football-sized dam. It won't do anything. Why? How does that get into farms?
I
don't do anything.
I actually thought that when they said one village, one dam, it's just slogan for some like a proper irrigation plan.
System. Yes.
You get my point. So you give it a slogan so that because one village, one irrigation, that sounds right. But the woman who was minister then told everybody in this country that she was only giving money for dugouts.
Don't forget the farmers who have also taken bank loans to finance some of their projects and the implications.
We will come back to this. We'll come